I've carried this rucksack for 500 miles around England, and a lot of you have been asking me for my opinion on it, let you know what the pros and the cons are. So in this video, that is what I'm going to do, and hopefully it will help you to decide whether this is the backpack for you. So first of all, we need to start off with what this backpack is called, because it's a bit confusing. This is a Naturehike rucksack. On the Naturehike website, it is known as a multifunctional mountain bag, which is a little bit misleading, if I'm honest. If you go onto the AliExpress website, it's known as the Naturehike Rock Series 40 plus 5. And that's probably what it's mostly known as. A lot of people refer to it as the Rock. There are two bags in this series. There's the larger version, which is the 60 plus 5 litre, and then this smaller one, which is the 40 plus 5. I bought this bag back in early 2023 when I was training for the South Downs Way, and I was looking for an alternative to my other backpack, which is the Osprey Kestrel 48, which capacity wise is roughly the same as this, but the weight difference is quite noticeable. I'll put the weight of the Kestrel on the screen. The weight of the Rock is just over 1 kilo. I think it's 1.06 kilograms. When I was preparing back in 2023 for the South Downs Way, budget was limited, so I couldn't really afford a high-end ultralight backpack, but I did want to go lighter. So I investigated this one. I also looked at the 3FUL equivalent. That didn't get very good reviews. And so I thought about this one. I noticed that a few people had reviewed the 65 litre version and it had quite good feedback. So I decided to go for this one. In terms of cost, it's, as you might imagine, with these kind of Chinese backpacks, the cost does vary. So the other day I went online and it was going for 50 something pounds. I've seen it all the way up to £100. When I bought it, I got it for about 72 pounds, which still was, in my opinion, quite good value at that time. So I will put the links in the video description to places where you can get this. Do have a shop around because the price can vary. In terms of the colour, I've only found it in this black and charcoal colour. I think there was a blue version, but it was always out of stock, and I think that might only be available in the larger version. So now they do give dimensions on this rucksack, which is 26 by 18 by 56 centimetres. I'm assuming I don't know how they measure that. I'm assuming that's when it hasn't got anything in it. So in terms of the material, it's described as 420D nylon, and it says it's tear resistant. So in my experience of using this, it has been pretty strong. I've thrown this about all over the place. I've had to pull things out quickly, shove things back in quickly. I've brushed against trees and brambles and gates in fields and all sorts, and it's hasn't been bad, to be honest with you. The only kind of sort of wear I am getting is just on the netting at the side, just at the bottom here, getting a little bit of wear. That's obviously a slightly different material, kind of netting material, so that's just something to bear in mind. On the front, we've got this stretchy pouch. That is really, really useful. That's actually stood the time as well. It's getting a little bit thready, but actually it's pretty good. And I use this just for things that I need to get hold of quite quickly. So just as an example, I've got my raincoat in there. I've got a map if I need to pull that out. Sometimes I might put damp things in there as well if I need to dry things off that have been soaked and taken ages to dry out, so that can be quite good, or things that are smelly or whatever. Sometimes snacks, you get the idea. So that I find that really, really useful. So let's take you on a bit of a tour of the backpack itself. I've just put that there just to stop it slipping over today. If we just look at the bottom there, so we start from the very bottom. So down there we've got a zip where the rain cover goes. Now this rain cover, I don't think it's very good. I've never really used it. It doesn't actually fit the rucksack. It's really, really tight. So I ditched that and I replaced it with my Osprey Kestrel 48 cover, which fits perfectly, and I'll show you some footage of that with me using it. So don't rely on the rain cover that it comes through. I would say get a larger rain cover to go over it, and yeah, it'll be much better. So just turning it around to the side, we've got two stretchy pockets at the side. Now, I've just put this as an example. I don't really use these Nalgene's anymore. I tend to use slimmer mineral water bottles, like smart water bottles, and these are pretty roomy. This is a really good feature of this rucksack, so you can actually get a couple of bottles in there and other things as well. If you needed to shove litter in there, look, I can get my hand right in there, so that's really good. And you've also got some good cordage options on the side, so if I just loosen that up there, you can hold in the bottles quite snugly, so that, you know, if you did fall over or whatever, then, you know, you're not going to run the risk of anything falling out. And nothing fell out at all on my most recent hike, which was the coast to coast. You'll also notice the cordage further up, which is holding the hiking poles in. So you do have hiking pole loops at the bottom, just here on both sides, so you can quite securely hold two trekking poles on there. So that is really, really useful if that is important to you and you like to use the trekking poles. In terms of the top of the rucksack, we've got two further little cord straps at the top here. And these are really useful because it does mean that you can hold things on the top. So I tended to put my fleece on the top there, might be my raincoat if I need to, but I always generally had something strapped to the top. Sometimes I use this little light foam mat, Outdoor Gear Essentials, and sometimes I have that on the top if I needed just to put it off, just to basically sit down and stretch my legs, and I didn't want to get muddy or wet. So you can use the top to store things as well. The first thing that you'll notice is that it is not a traditional open and closed rucksack. It's actually a roll top rucksack, which clicks open at the sides. So you can see I've actually got a little bit more room in there. So it's 40 litres, I'm estimating where it is. It's about 40 litres, and then there's another 5. So it's 45 litres in total. And I have found that as long as I'm quite smart with what I take and I pack really, really carefully, that is enough. I've never felt I can't get everything in here. Now, the thing to remember with this, because people get a bit confused as to which way you roll it, so you need to roll it towards the back of the rucksack, and then you click it down. Right, let's spin it around so you can see the back. And let's talk about the back of the rucksack. So first thing we just need to clarify is that I don't think there is a rucksack out there that will stop your back from sweating. How did I find this? Well, again, I've used this in all weathers. I've used it in freezing cold weather. I've used it in hot weather. Yeah, I do get a sweaty back, but it's not like a nightmare. It's not any worse than any other rucksack that you might get. It's pretty comfy. The padding is pretty good, and it's still in very good condition, even after 500 miles. So in terms of the shoulder straps, let's have a look at those. So you've got all the usual ways of adjusting them at the top there, just to make sure that it sits properly and you're fully supported on your shoulders. You've got other little loops and straps that you can utilise as you wish. So I've made a few little amendments. So I've got some little bungee cord straps that I put on there, and that is simply to hold on I've got another one down here somewhere, it slipped down, and that was to hold my my little mini tripod on my GoPro when I was filming, so that I could literally just unclick it, film it. Sometimes I even had it permanently attached here. On this side, it comes with a useful little, what do you call it, little bottle holder, perhaps. Very, very useful. Use that all the time, just for a small bottle of water there, just to pull out. Some people might use it, I suppose, for a mobile phone. I found it most useful for me to have for water. I've got some other straps on here that didn't come with it, and these are for attaching my chest rig. I've got a chest rig made by Wild Sky, I think they're called, and It's the same colour as this, so it matches quite nicely. And I used that in conjunction with this, and had it just clicking on. Where's it gone? And had it just clicking on to the rucksack, but I'll come on to that in just a moment. Moving further down, we have got two side pockets here. Now these side pockets, I will say, I'm going to be honest, are very small. You can't get a lot in them. So I use these mainly for small items, so things like antibacterial gel. In the other one, I've got my little cereal sort of protein bars. So when I'm hiking, I can normally get 2 or 3 of these, packet of tissues. Yeah, the antibacterial gel, you kind of get the idea. That's really all you're going to get in there. And then I use the chest rig for other things like battery packs, maps, compasses. You know, you get the idea. Wallet, that type of stuff. The other thing that I don't really like about these pockets, I mean, I kind of got used to it, is they zip up that way, and I would prefer it if you open them the other way, if that makes sense, because it's a little bit faffy trying to undo them and trying to do them up. So I would say if this was to be redesigned, I'd like the zips put in the opposite way around and larger side pockets. Just want to come back up to the shoulders just for the moment, the shoulder straps. So I found that after I had used this pack for about 300 miles, over here, this point here, if you can see it, where this adjuster strap meets the main backpack, the stitching was starting to come away. And I hate throwing gear away. If I can get it repaired, that is something that I will do. So I contacted James at Sussex Outdoors and asked whether he would, because I'd heard that he does fix camping equipment. I explained the problem. I made a little video of the problem and shared that with him. And big shout out to James at Sussex Outdoors, because I sent this off to him and he did a fantastic job in just reinforcing this. And I would say the stitching that I ended up with before I went on the coast to coast, which is when he fixed it, was far superior to the original manufacturer. So he just took it all apart. He like double stitched it on the inside. He went out and bought extra strength thread and he did an amazing job, and it was just real peace of mind. So that's just something to bear in mind. It might have something to do with the weight, which I'll come on to in a second, the weight of the pack and the constant on-off before I went on the coast to coast. But actually, when I took it on the coast to coast, that worked. So that extra stitching that James did was just the business. In terms of how much weight it will take, so again, different sources say different things, a little bit like the name of the rucksack itself. A lot of places say 15 kilos is the maximum. I have seen one source saying 11 kilos. I've never gone above 15 kilos. I've kind of been around the 14 mark, and I can tell it's at its limit. It hasn't broken. Well, I say that. I was just talking about the stitching on the straps on the other side. I think that might have been a bit of strain, but also to do with not great stitching originally at the factory. But it's just something to bear in mind. So if you're thinking that you're going to need more than about 14 kilos, more than 15 kilos, then this might not be the pack for you. You might want to go for the next one up, which is the 65 litre, so you can get more gear in it. So I thought it'd be useful if I just pop it on so you can actually see me wearing the thing that I'm rabbiting on about. Now, I always start with the waist strap, just to kind of get it sitting on the top there. Not too tight, but just kind of get that sitting nicely. And of course I've got the sternum strap just here. And then I've got the straps that I mentioned at the top. So at the top of the shoulder straps, just to bring it in a little bit closer. That's on its maximum. And then the usual straps just there, just to kind of just bring it in a little bit more. You can see it's actually a compact bit of kit. it really is, it sits quite nicely there. I really like it. It doesn't feel cumbersome. So I thought I'd just finish off with summary, final thoughts, positives and negatives. So I'll start with the negatives. The negatives are pretty small, to be honest with you. The rain cover that comes with it isn't good enough. It's too small, so you need another one. The pockets at the sides, for me, they might not be for you, but for me, they're not big enough, and the zips would be better if they opened in the opposite direction. And that is about it. Honestly, that is about it. There's not really anything else that I would consider majorly annoying. Do you know what? I think it's a really, really good backpack. I know there are people that prefer bigger brands, but if you are on a bit of a budget and you want to kind of go for something a bit mid-range, I would say this is ideal. I would really recommend it. I'm still using it and I still intend to use it. Maybe at some point in the future where I've got a bit more money, I might upgrade and I might get a different brand. But for £70 average price, you might get it a bit cheaper, maybe a bit more. I think it's a really, really good buy. The other thing to mention is there are no other pockets. There's no zip pockets. There's no pockets hidden on the inside or anything like that. It literally is just an empty sack that you just load in from the top. There's no side zips. You can't open it from any other way. It's all in from the top. I just want to mention about keeping things waterproof. So I said that I use my green Osprey rain cover. They describe it as a water repellent. So I used a Nylafume pack liner, again, which I got from Outdoor Gear Essentials, on the inside. And then I also, and some of you might say this is a little bit overkill, I put all of my items into separate dry bags. So it's kind of like triple ensuring that things don't get wet. And do you know what? Nothing got wet. When I walked for 40 miles in torrential rain through the Lake District, generally everything stayed dry, and I always had dry things to put on in my tent at the end of every day. So the key thing to remember is this is not waterproof. Don't expect it to be waterproof. So you just need to make sure that you're putting other measures in place. I hope that's helpful. If it has been helpful, please can you hit the like button, because it just really helps out the video and the channel. So thanks for watching and see you soon.